Hello and welcome to our afternoon session where we talk about how telcos transform into gateways for content and how they remain agile in this process while developing quite complex offers. Before we kick it off, I want to ask the audience that you also can ask questions. So we want to leave 5 minutes of our half-an-hour session for that. So please feel free to send us some questions to the chat box. Let me introduce you to the panel. We have, first of all, Magnus Linde. He's the head of TV development of Tele2 in Sweden. And we have Eva Mikalev, who is the director entertainment for products for Telenet in Belgium. And last but not least, Americ Legal, who is the VP strategic accounts for KALTURA, working, I think, with many of these operators that we just having here and probably also been in the audiences. Before we kick off the theme, I would love to hear a little bit from you, what you're actually working on and what drives you in the moment for transforming the business, or how you transform the business for your own operations, and what are the key challenges that you are facing in doing so. Magnus, would you like to start?
Yes, the challenges. I mean, we're an operator that comes from, we have a distribution on almost all the different platforms. We have IPTV, we have DVB-C on our cable network, we have the terrestrial network from purchasing Boxer, and now we have quite a large extent of OTT, both live and VOD. So of course, consolidating that at the same time, maintaining the quite big customer base that we have. That's one of the challenges. I mean, just finding legacy set-top boxes with the right conditional access for a terrestrial network or a cable network. It's a challenge today when everything is moving to standardized OTT DRM platforms. So that's basic, and of course the challenge we have in regards to this topic we're discussing today, with content providers want to protect their content, or making sure that they are in larger control of the content. How do we aggregate that in a sense that make a good customer experience for our viewers out there?
So maintaining the legacy while developing new services and new OTT propositions. What are your thoughts, Eva, on that? I mean, you also have a legacy, as Magnus just described, on a cable side, and on the other hand, you have a lot of new devices and new propositions that you probably what you already have in the market.
Yeah, for sure. In our industry, we're never short of challenges. That's really something that continuously keeps on surprising me, because the way the market is evolving and the way consumer behavior is evolving, the speed of evolution is so fast in our industry that keeping up with it, understanding what it means towards our business, and being able to react as fast as possible is probably one of the biggest challenges that we have. Mm-hmm. And whilst responding to what consumers expect from us, dealing with the complexity of technology that we have in the field, as Magnus is saying, is of course a difficult challenge to deal with. And I think a very important extra element is the way competition has been evolving. We are no longer being challenged on our vertical as telcos, but actually the whole horizontal landscape is becoming a combination of partners and competitors at the same time, because everybody is playing a role in the field. Broadcasters going with direct to consumers, our content providers that we used to pay premium content for are now launching their direct to consumer offers. Our own technology providers become also a gateway to technology towards our customers. So from all angles, competition becomes fiercer and fiercer as years are passing by, and we have to find a way to make all of this puzzle fit together and remain relevant towards our consumers, which is our main goal, of course.
And for you, Americ, what do you see from your customers? What are their challenges, and as we just heard, it's the different infrastructure, it's the different propositions that your content partners becoming your competitors.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, Annette, go ahead.
So keeping up with that, I think it's much what I always say. It's not complicated, but it's getting complexer every day, right? So and that's
yeah, I think what Ivo and Marcus say is exactly the point where we try at KALTURA to support this ecosystem partnership. Two interesting things: the move from legacy IPTV to a streaming world, which is also some kind of technological change. I think the cloud is now bringing all the tools to be more flexible, to be able to launch not only some new apps inside your pay TV operator domain from an ecosystem partner or from your own content, but also to create on-demand live VOD, whatever support that you need to do. So this part is really key, and I agree with Marcus that this is a kind of the transformation of the platform. And to cope with what Ivo is mentioning also is like, how do we find the right way to put all these puzzle pieces together, which is, some providers are also now some content providers. Some partners on your platform are your competitors. So you can give access to your partner to do your kind of media processing, whatever it is, and they could compete to you because they have a direct-to-consumer application. So the main question remains how the telco find its place within all this transformation, technological change, and also content partnership change to keep, I would say to keep the direct relationship with the customer and to keep the customer engaged, to avoid what I think is the main objective of the telco is to avoid the churn, to keep the direct channel with their customer, even if the customer is going through a pure OTT app, which is not the own content of the telco. So this is what we see at KALTURA level on the market. Mm-hmm. This is not new. This is ongoing. There is no, I don't think in one of our customers, someone find a magic solution for that. There's different approach through different devices. But yes, I mean, this is where we are on the market from our point of view here.
Yeah, it's interesting. You obviously say it is the gateway, right? The operator is focusing on this discussion on how the telco sees the gateway to the customer, but also the gateway for the customer to find what he probably likes to watch or what he would like to hear, or other sort of super aggregation platform that gives you. But what really drives customers? Is it the convenience? Is it what are your thoughts on this? Is it the UI UX, so the seamless experience? Is it the convenience of the bill? Is it the scale that you can use services and unused services, so you can subscribe and unsubscribe to it? Is there anything that, or is it a mix of all that pretty much is the, as you said, the golden bullet that as a differentiator? What are your thoughts? I mean, have you seen anybody who has done, or any operator that has got it really right, or something that is a really good mechanism to keep the customer create stickiness?
So I'm not able to pretend to give the right answer to that, and I think it would be more also insightful to get the Marcus and Ivo point of view. But my vision, and I also put myself in the shoes of a very big fan of TV, is the simplicity. It's like simplicity to access content. So whatever is the own content of the pay TV operator or some of the content from the other provider, which is not simple today because we don't have this unique AD, API are not always often. You have some technical, and I'm not technical enough to dig into that through Android platform, but also simplicity to subscribe, to get billed, and to go through the process. Like if I want to have access to something, I'm looking for something, I want to have, some very easy way through the metadata, through the way, the UI, to have access to my content. And as soon as I make the decision to watch it, or it's part of my package, and if it's not, I don't want to have more than 2 or 3 clicks to watch the content. It needs to be close to the digital world of the web, where I want to buy something, I just click, I scan a code bar or something, it goes to my credit card, and that's all. And I think simplicity is the main word. So So that's not easy to do, because I think my colleagues on the panel will say that's a very easy way to see it, but there is a lot of complex stuff in with the content protection, with the billing, with the integration with the SI and all the ecosystem. But if you ask me what the customer wants, I think they just want simplicity to access, watch, and get billed, or at least get access to the content.
Do you both, yeah? And what are then the challenges if you want to build that ecosystem? I mean, that sounds great to have one billing, have one customer relation. But what happens if the customer calls for service that you probably only in brackets means aggregate? So I think the amount of customer service that goes into that kind of aggregation model is also something that is a challenge, but also it's convenient for the customer, but it's also a challenge. So what are you experiencing in both as an operator to be in that role of an aggregator?
I think from our point of view, we in one sense we're already doing that, since I mean, through Boxer we're actually operating the customer experience, but someone else is operating the technical service. So in a sense we're already doing that, but I agree it's going to be a challenge having this. I think there are multiple challenges, but one of the challenges is finding all these content providers having a similar approach to content integration, having a similar way to billing integration. It's going to be difficult for the customer facing personnel or the customer facing channels that we have. But it's also, from a direct application point of view, we've started the journey to becoming more of an aggregator, and there you have to find some of the functionality that you say that, okay, we're not gonna provide that to the customer, but we're gonna provide another convenience. We're not gonna provide recommendation as Netflix, for example, but there is a level of convenience that we can provide that they can't, if you want to have a more comprehensive set of functionality. So that's, and just to comment about Ivor said about the quick pace of the market. I mean, we're a telecom operators. My colleagues are working with building 5G networks and expanding the broadband, and they're discussing 18 months plans, and I'm supposed to come up with those plans for the future. I don't even know what I'm doing next month. It can change that quickly, and that's a challenge. I mean, most of us enjoy working in that agile environment, but it can be confusing describing this to my colleagues in the business that have another time frame, so to say. That was just a comment to Ivor, a reflection more or less.
That's an interesting comment, because all of these agile complex offers should drive the uptake of these broadband networks over 5G or fiber, right? So you're building probably the killer applications, as we said a couple of years ago, for people subscribing to more access or broadband or better access. But going back to the topic, so what do you see as Ivo, as a challenge? I mean, Markus described that a lot, the different pace in the telco between the infrastructure and the product development. The future product development is probably one, but also how to grasp what customers want, and to maybe more slice and segment your customer groups in the future, because you have different bundles to offer, different to go to market for different customer groups, right? I mean, it's also, I think, something, a new topic for telco, was usually has quite, I mean, still had different products and services to offer, but now you have to be very more flexible in that.
Yeah, I think if there's one extra aspect that I can think of to add on to what Magnus is saying, because of course I totally see the same issue from challenges from our side, but the extra dimension that I would think of is just the sheer size of fragmentation that we are living in as a reality today. versus the past, where in the past we were really end-to-end responsible for the whole value chain of what we offer to our consumers. We were responsible to make sure that the linear channels are coming and being broadcast in top quality, that the video on demand assets are in good quality, presented nicely to our consumers, billed correctly to our consumers. So any touch point we have with customers, we should be able to answer on what is going wrong. And there was a high level of predictability. But now we are in a world of major fragmentation, multiple services that are their own complexity that exists on our platform, but also elsewhere, that have the combination of a touch point with that provider, but also a touch point with us. And you have to really define very clear sandboxes and boundaries on what responsibility we have to take as telcos towards supporting the customers, and where do you need to hand over to another party. And that's not something, unlike Magnus, it's not something that we are used to. This is something relatively new that we have to think through and deal with on, for example, having a service like YouTube or Netflix. At what point do you have to tell a customer that we are unable to explain why a content item disappeared that they have been watching, or why the app is not presenting them the content that they expected? That's not a level of support that we are able to take. So also the way we interact with the customers will change drastically the more fragmentation we expect to see in the next years.
So managing the expectation of the customers and pretty much also not that they're applying what they're used to the new OTT services, right? So the quality of service that you were expecting from a pay TV or from a linear service or from an on-demand service can't be applied to that. It should be applied, but you can't apply it in a case because you're not controlling the content that somebody is requesting or downloading or streaming.
The content, the experience itself, the logic setup of the interface that looks all different between the different apps that you make available. So there's a lot of elements that are not within your control, which is a big risk in the aggregated model that we are entering more and more.
Yeah, so who controls the customer interface, right? The UX, UI. How important is that in the future while you becoming more like a store front rather than being maintaining your own store, right? So it's more like it's a big challenge, but also to organize it and so customers can feel that they will see that they can feel everything that they wanted to watch. But this aggregation model, what else is the, I think, what are the things that makes it successful? Is it the amount of partners, or is it more the segmentation of the services, or being able to, I spoke to a couple of operators in North America recently, and they said we are going to an extent now where we let customers choose between different channels that they can pick and different on-demand services, and they can pretty much build their own bundle. I think from a billings perspective, probably it's quite more than a challenge, but what do you think, where is this going in the moment? Is this going to more fragmentation even, or do you think it's we go back to these traditional small, medium size and large size bundles?
Yeah, I do think that there's going to be even more fragmentation in the next few years at least. There will continuously be more content providers that will feel they have now the brand reputation that is strong enough, the content power that is in their favor to take and pull content from the telcos and deliver a direct consumer offer. So I do expect that there's going to be more fragmentation. The flip side of that is that consumers will feel more and more lost because there is not one centralized place where you can see all the content that's available. There will be a lot of app hopping back and forth, a lot of subscriptions that need to be enabled and disabled because, of course, customers don't have unlimited wallets to keep on adding subscriptions. So I expect that there will be a point in time where the market will consolidate again, and there will be a realization that consumers cannot keep paying a €5 and a €10 individually for each service, and there will be a realization that OTT services are the new linear channels where we can maybe re-aggregate these OTT services in a logical way that consumers can afford to pay for them, can understand what they're paying for easily, and reduce the need to continuously make trade-offs, as is the reality today and will continue to be for the next few years.
Yeah. You think there's a trade-off between linear consumption and on-demand already, probably more maybe in North America and then in Europe, because they have usually paid more for their cable subscription and spend on average more per month on TV and video per se. But I think it's a good point to say it's how far can it get, how far get the wallet share and the people willing to spend per month on say 10 OTT services plus a basic linear package. And I think there's a certain threshold that will be reached in certain markets. But going back to America, you have also deployed a lot of services in that regard. And you see that maybe that some operators now making that trade-off between linear and on-demand services, or even moving linear into an on-demand environment, right? Have you?
So we don't see that right now, because most of our customers are still in this transformation journey that Marcus and Ivor, and it's very complex behind everything. We are not yet there, but what we see on the market is obviously we see a bit of live will remain, at least for sports. And when you look at sports, I don't know if some of you follow the French market, but it was completely messy for the between being Canal Plus and Media Pro, and now Amazon is is the one driving the Premier League, the Ligue 1 for France football, which is very famous, obviously. So when you look at this, at the end, again, coming back to the basic, and fully agree with Ivor, one people get lost is the consumer. So we see this kind of move from linear. I mean, this is a trend also for the usage that linear TV, basic one, is not really consumed. So maybe at some point, Telcos should think about, do we need to have a 250 lineup channel? Because maybe not all of them are really consumed, and it's very expensive for us to maintain. But we need to aggregate the main one, because it's regional channel, country channel, and I think our sports channel. And then the SVOD also will ramp up, but the question will be, SVOD only through partner apps, or also through the ecosystem of telco. So I think we are right in the middle to see all this reshuffle between the 250 live channel and the SVOD or catch-up pure model, to maybe focus on the premium content channel. And I completely agree with Ivor. People want just to do cherry picking. I want sports, I want news, and maybe the same that we see in SVOD will happen in live. Like, I don't care about kids because I don't have kids. I mean, I have kids, so I care about kids, but I want the kids channel, I want the news channel, and I want the sports channel. And the rest, I don't care, because I consume the media through Netflix, Disney, or whatever. So maybe this will happen also with this kind of transformation in life. So I don't know if it answers your question, but this is what we start to see, that maybe the focus is not to have the most as possible channel that they can have to deliver to the consumer, but really to focus on, let's have an Android set-top box, let's be a super aggregator of SVOD, let's just put this set-top box in hybrid terrestrial mode. People will consume the local channel in UK, in France. And then the main goal of the operator is to bring customer on their platform. And obviously the main job of the telco is to sell bandwidth, mobile subscription. So I think this is what they are trying to do also.
I think this shift, what you just described, that customers can pick certain channels, I think that was for years prohibited by the content industry, because the content, when you license it, they pretty much demanded in which kind of package they want to appear and they want to be marketed. But now they're all going direct, building their own D2C. These kind of some rules are no longer applying. So it gives the telco operator more freedom to package as they want. But I think they have other challenges that we all know it's billing and customer service, and it makes it more complex even. But it is a nice thought that you could pick certain contents. But
yeah,
I think
technically it's complex, and with the
Yeah.
content right, it's completely
Right.
not feasible today. We
No,
know that.
not feasible today,
But,
but I think we will end up with that more individualized packages of live and linear and on-demand services. We have 5 minutes left, so if there's any questions or comments from the audience, we're happy to take those. Otherwise, we talk a little bit more about what it means to become into this transformation, what are the chances to become a gateway for these complex offers, or a gateway to customers to build these complex offers and bring them to the market. Have you seen anything from your customers that is very well appreciated, or a thing that resonates quite well from thinking about these usage over different devices? Or is it something that creates extremely good stickiness, or is it as really one of the mechanism that really prevents churn, or that increases customer lifetime value when you look at these converged offerings?
I mean, yeah, one good example, and it's not really, I'm not talking about our customer, but I'm not talking about my local
In general,
market. Yeah. And we see that in France last year. I think it was SFR and Bouygues Telecom. They both launched what was for me very interesting, which is the same model that in mobile, when they sponsor and they subsidize the iPhone, they subsidize the main screen, and they give you this fiber offer, and then they have their own apps, which is part of the rail that you have on your smart TV, which is Netflix. We have Molotov in France, which is very famous, and then you have Bouygues, and then you have RMC, and then you have SFR. So instead of fighting with this kind of apps new world, they also decide to say why, and I think that's quite an interesting approach, like why we are not doing the same business model that we have done in the mobile, which is instead of paying your iPhone 1,000 euro, you get it for 200, but you get a 2-year subscription model, which is very interesting for the churn. And then we provide our own apps as the other one. So that's what we see in the French market, and I think also in Spain there is this kind of initiative. So it's like removing the set-top box, pure approach to a kind of more streaming OTT apps world, which is quite interesting, I think, because we can see, and I think it was a Conviva study, that the biggest growth in terms of devices last year was 64%. It was on smart TV, so more than double of usage in terms of growth was on smart TV. So I think this kind of device will need to be considered. And the user experience is completely different than in a set-top box in an operator telco, environment. So you need to have this kind of, I think, this kind of consideration when you think about the future way of consuming TV on the main screen, because main screen remain I think mobile is still very low in terms of TV consumption. So that's what we see. This is what we see on the market.
So more adapting your proposition to the devices and how they've been consumed, and rather building on that living room experience and think about more users in households and multiple devices that really drive the uptake. Yeah, good thought. Unfortunately, we have to wrap it up already. So if there's any final thoughts that you would like to share with the audience, Magnus or Ivor, otherwise we would have to close the session almost. I get a signal that we have 2 minutes left, but I would really like give you some sort of room to have some remaining words.
We're looking forward to an interesting future. I think that's, and from my perspective, I don't know where we will land, but I will enjoy it.
Yeah, I was thinking a little bit on the same wave as Magnus, because we talked a lot about challenges, but on the other hand, I think these challenges that we have on the table, I do believe that at the end will make us stronger. I think there is going to be a room for a telco player like us, where we can remain relevant towards our consumers, because at least the interest and demand in video is only growing. It's not going away. So I do believe for as long as that is there, content is strong, we will emerge with a very relevant position in the market.
I think so too. Aymeric, some.
No, nothing to add. I mean, it's a bit shared between both of them. I'm looking forward to see what will happen to this market because I'm a kind of newbie only. I mean, maybe 10 years on this market, but since 2012, you know, everything has changed drastically. So I'm sure that we'll have place for the telco because for just one reason to do what we are doing today, to watch a video, you need bandwidth, you know, and at some point, I think you need bandwidth, you need to have a simple billing system, you need to have whatever we call aggregation, but telco will remain, and I'm sure that you know the point to link the customer through whatever apps we can have tomorrow, which maybe, you know, maybe Netflix will be dead in 10 years, we don't know. So
maybe they're investing in infrastructure.
Yeah,
maybe Magnus, Ivor, Aymeric, many thanks for this, and hope to see you sometime again soon in one of these sessions.
Yeah.
And I wish the audience more fun from the other sessions this afternoon, and we will continue tomorrow as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.